This is Denise Mathew, and today I'm going to do a faux gold dipped druzy earring, and I'm using polymer clay to put around the druzys, and I'll show you how that works. So the first thing you're going to do is I have some of this kind of Sculpey type, that's the brand I'm using, but clay. So just soften it up between your fingers. I have these 15mm druzy beads. Now they're a bead that are drilled, but I'm not going to worry about the drill. I just like the look of them. So all I'm going to do is I soften up the polymer clay, and then I'm just going to squeeze it around my earring. Okay. I'm going to go right around the druzy so that you can see the main part of the druzy. Now you want to bring the edges up a little bit around the druzy because you want it to hold in place, because you're going to bake this, and that's one thing you want to do. So after that's done, I'm just gonna push it on my paper like that, and then that will flatten the back of it. Okay, and then just kind of continue to do it with your fingers, and then just go to the other one, same concept, and just try and do it about the same size, because I'm going to be making earrings for this project, and I'll show you how to make a ring in a few more minutes. So I'm just again warming it up in my fingers, and then just going to wrap that druzy in the clay, and just bring it right up along the sides like that. You just want to bring it right up. You can decide how much you want to use, if you want to use less, so that more of the druzy, but again, as long as it's being held in place. Okay, and then once that's done, you're going to just flatten it on the back side again. And if you notice, I used more on one side than the other, so I'm just going to add a little bit more and mold it with my fingers. And if clay comes over your druzy, just push it off like that. Now the one thing that I noticed with this project is if you use a clear colored crystal, it doesn't show up as nice. Something with a little bit of color is going to be a little bit better to show up for earrings and so forth. Now I'm using black polymer clay, but you can use whatever color you like, so you can just decide what works for you. So then what you're going to do is just do just a simple wrapped loop, and this is going to be the hook that we're going to put in it, so that so you would just do a circle, hold to that circle, and then just wrap that tail around a few times. And this is really just going to, now if you want to have if you want to buy an eye hook, you could do that as well. I'm just using this because it's easier and I'll have an eye hook. Okay, so once that's done, you'll have something like, so now this is what you would have, and then you're just going to trim it back to about 1/4 of an inch. So you're left with something that looks like that. And then all you're going to do, I'm using this Bacon Bond by Sculpey, and what that's supposed to do is supposed to help things adhere a little bit better. You can use that, or if you don't want to, that's fine. You can don't bother using it, or you can just put a drop of glue on the hook after it comes out of the oven. But you want to make sure you don't do it before you put, you don't want to put any glue on it before you put it in the oven. Okay, so I'm just going to dip it into that, and then just stick it in wherever I want, wherever there's a part, and just make sure it's a place where there's enough clay to hold it in place. So I'm just going to push that in right like that. So this is what I would have. Okay. And then I'm just going to do the exact same thing to the other. Now that that's done, you're just going to bake these in the oven for as long as it says on the package of the polymer clay that you're using. And if you're using the Bacon Bond, I think it's about 30 minutes, but again, just check for yourself. And then once this is baked, you're going to let it cool, and then we're going to go on to the next. And I already have some made, so I'll just start with those. So today I'm going to use some silver leaf. So these are just little druzy, like a little bit more of a rough druzy that I used, and they've got a little bit of sparkle. So now I do have a video just how to gold dipped, how to do faux gold dipped crystals, and I'll put the link for that, so it'll give you a little more help. This is just a metal leaf sealer. Now they usually say you use it adhesive as well as a sealer, but I find just a sealer is sufficient. So you're just going to dip your paintbrush into the sealer, and then you're just going to put it on the places that you want it to go. Okay, so you don't want to put it over your druzy. But if you do, it's not a big deal because it does dry clear. So just apply that, and then just wait for a couple seconds for it to get tacky, and just about 30 seconds or thereabouts. And just paint the other one while we're waiting. Okay. Now all you're going to do is just take your silver leaf, and I'm just going to start to just attach that to the place. The first coat may not cover everything, don't worry about it, you can just go back with that in a minute. So there you go. And if there's pieces hanging off, that's okay. You can just take a dry brush. You can just take a dry brush and you can just kind of tap it in, or you can use your fingers, whatever you want. Places where the silver leaf is that you don't want it, you can always take that off later, so don't worry too much about that. So just one done, and I'm just going to go to the other one and just kind of start to attach some of that silver. Move it away from the places you don't want it, and then you're going to go back and use that same brush, the wet brush, and just apply more silver. So you're going to keep doing that, and you're going to do as many coats as you need to. I'm just going to keep applying some more here, and just a real gentle tap, because if you go too rough, the leaf that you've already put on will come off. So just put a little bit more on. And you want to put it right around that druzy, so that's all surround it. And again, I do prefer the gold, but I just thought I'd just show that the silver can be done as well. At the end of it, you're going to add one final coat of your sealer and let that dry, and it will dry clear. And then once that's done, somebody had mentioned that they were having trouble with the sealer drying properly. So if you have problems with the sealer drying, not drying properly, or if you want to just add one more added coat, just an extra layer of this is just clear nail polish. You can just add one more layer of clear nail polish on the druzies. After everything's dry, I haven't let it dry completely, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. You would let it dry perfectly. You're just going to put your druzies on some ear wires, and any bits of silver that you don't want, you can remove at that point, and then that would be your finished earring. Now, if you wanted to make a ring, you can do a very similar kind of concept. So what you're going to do now, my suggestion is to make a ring one size smaller, because you can always size it up if you want to by hammering it, but if it's too big, it's almost impossible to fix it. So what I would do is make it one size smaller. So if I'm a size 7, I go to a size 6, okay? So this is about a 2-inch piece of wire. So all you do is you go to a size 6, and then you're just going to wrap it around your dowel. I have a little bit too much, so that's okay. So you just want it to overlap a tiny bit like that, okay? So you can put it on your mandrel or dowel or whatever. So once it's there, you can just cut it. You just want it to overlap a little bit, because those are the places that it's going to stick in your clay, okay? So you see it just overlaps a little bit, and that's at a size 6. And again, I can size it up once it's all done, okay? So just remove that and try and keep it in the circular shape. So then just take some more of your polymer clay and you're going to flatten it out and just put your druzy in it, or crystal or bead. You can use whatever you like. The only thing you have to keep in mind is something that can easily go in the oven and will not melt or get cracked or whatever. So just kind of start to work it around there. And I still have some silver on my fingers, so I'm adding a bit of silver, but that's all right. I'm going to have it all covered up anyway. So now that it's mainly covered, and just kind of try and smooth it around so that you have sort of the same, you want sort of the same amount of thickness all around, just like you did with the earrings. And you could do this with a pendant if you wanted to do like just a bigger druzy. You could do that with the same idea exactly. And what you want to do is decide how you want your ring to look. So you want it to look like this or like this. So you decide that. Then if you're using the bacon bond, you're going to just dip it in there on both sides. So I'm just going to put my ring part right into the clay, and then what I'm going to do is just take my fingers and squeeze a little bit. Okay, now if you see that the holes are getting a little bit big, you can just go in with your finger or a tool if you have a polymer clay tool or something that will help you, just to make sure that it's all stuck in there properly. Okay, and once that's done, what I like to do is just slide it back on the ring handle really, really carefully, just to see if it's sort of around the same size. Yeah, it is. It's around the same size as a size 6. And then at this point, you're just going to bake it, and then you would have your ring. I already have one I've done. Okay, so I'm going to use gold this time, so I'm just going to start painting it everywhere I want it to be. Alright, trying to avoid the druzy part. And then just start to apply the gold like you did with the silver. What you would do is just continue to add the gold like I just did here, and then you would do one final coat of the sealer just like the other one. And then if you wanted to use a clear nail polish, you could do that one more time. When your ring is perfectly dry, you're just going to put it back on your ring mandrel, and then you're just going to check the size of it. If I wanted to size one up, I'm just going to take my hammer. One thing you might want to do after you've baked it, just to make sure it's perfectly stable, is you might want to put a drop of glue into the connection areas for both your earrings and your wherever the wire is attaching to your polymer clay, just to make sure that it's perfectly stable. So this concludes the tutorial. I hope you liked it. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. We'll see you next time. Thanks for coming. Bye for now.